Hello and a warm welcome back to the teaching series, The Jesus That John Knew. Thank you so very much for being with me again. I really do appreciate it. And I must say I also very much appreciate so many of the emails and the Facebook notes that you send, just telling me keep on keeping on, that you're encouraged by what you're hearing. And I know many of you really look forward to the YouTube post on a Friday morning on my Facebook page, and those of you who received them by email. So thank you so very much. It really is heartening, actually. We are in the midst of some teaching around from John chapter 7, and it's actually quite interesting because Jesus has reached a point of real conflict, and he said to his accusers who are seeking to kill him, he said, look, this thing's reached farcical proportions. It's just a complete joke. You as people think that you're upholding the law, honouring the law. He's going to say in John chapter 16, by the way, there will come a day when people will run you out of the synagogues and seek to kill you and think they're doing God's work. And he's here talking in 7 saying, look, you've got this law from Moses. Oh, by the way, it wasn't Moses' law, it was from the fathers anyway, and incidentally you don't keep that either, but let's leave that to one side, Jesus is saying. But here you are with this ridiculous position. You're saying a young boy must be circumcised on the 8th day, but you've got this law about the Sabbath, and nobody can do anything on the Sabbath. Sabbath is a complete day of rest. Remember, the Sabbath has got one law about resting on the Sabbath. The Jews, in their paranoia to make sure that nobody broke the Sabbath, built these things they called fence laws and oral traditions, as sometimes you'll hear them called. And I've told you before that Jesus has no problem running roughshod over these oral traditions. So obsessive does legalism become. Such is this problem of what I call this OCD, this kind of Old Covenant disorder. This and literally is OCD, is this kind of obsessive compulsory disorder where you've got to make sure everything's got to be clean. You're kind of freaked out by dirt. So obsessed are the Jewish people with this that they have created 1,500, Marky, 1,500 fence laws that they call them to protect you from this law, this Sabbath infraction. And Jesus says, but hang on, we get a boy that's born, and on the 8th day you have to circumcise him, and if the 8th day happens to fall on the Sabbath, then you set aside the Sabbath law and enable him to be circumcised. And everybody gets it. You say, oh yeah, well of course he has to be circumcised because it's on the 8th day. And Jesus says, that's madness. Don't you see that? Here I came into the temple into the pool of Bethsaida on the Sabbath day. I could have come the day before, I could have come the day after, but you know, what's the point? I wanted to deal with you on this very issue. And I healed a man completely. He'd been sick, an invalid, for 38 years, and I healed him instantly. And because of that one act, you want to kill me? Are you people crazy? Now, of course, the discussion that ensues is very interesting. And let's read together in John chapter 7 and verse 25. And some of the people of Jerusalem therefore said, Is this not the man they're seeking to kill? But here he is speaking openly, and they say nothing to him. Can it be the authorities really know that this is the Christ? Now, of course, this is going to be a serious conflict. And you know, of course, don't you, about leadership conflicts within Israel, that Israel is very much governed by the sense of the direction, the lead that's given to them by their spiritual leaders. Not much different in 21st century Protestant Christianity, by the way. But they say, hey, we're not getting this. Here he is, he's speaking openly. We've already seen this incredible learning that he's got. Nobody's making a move to arrest him. Is it that they really know he's the guy? What could that be? Verse 27. But we know this man, where this man comes from. And when Christ appears, no one will know where he comes from. You see, they're struggling. They're saying, this can't be Christ. This can't be the Christ, because this is an ordinary guy. This guy's from Nazareth, from Galilee, for goodness sake. Surely he can't be. Surely when the Christ comes, he's going to come literally out of nowhere, out of the sky, if you like. We're not understanding that. He can't be the Christ. Oh, incidentally, there's plenty of people think that about you and I. This person can't be anybody. They've got no learning. Where did you go to school? What do you know? What did you do with your childhood? Where did you graduate from? Did you go to Harvard? Were you at Princeton? Did you go to Oxford? Were you at Cambridge? What do you know? Have you got papers? Have you been validated? Do you have your theological degrees? What seminary did you go through? How do you know anything? Where did you learn that? Who taught you that? Where are you from? You're not anybody. You're nobody. What do you know? Jesus saying, what's the matter with you? Don't you see this? Jesus saying, I am from above. So are you, my friend, and so are you. Now watch. So Jesus proclaimed as he taught in the temple, "You know me, and you know where I come from. But," he says, "I have not come on my own accord. He who sent me is true, and you do not know him. You don't know. Oh, you don't know him at all. I know him." He says, listen, "I know him, for I come from him, and he sent me." So they were seeking to arrest him, but no one laid a hand on him, because his hour had not yet come. Yet many people believed in him. And they said, "When the Christ appears, will he surely do any more works than this man has done?" And the Pharisees heard the crowd muttering these things, and said about the chief priests and the officers, and sent him out to arrest him. And Jesus said, "I'll be with you a little longer, and I'm going to him who sent me. You'll seek me, but you won't find me. Where I am going, you cannot come." The Jews said to one another, "Where does this man intend to go that we'll not be able to find him? Does he intend to go into the dispersion among the Greeks and teach to the Gentiles?" And Jesus said, "You'll seek me, but you won't find me. Where I'm going, you cannot come." Now, of course, remember that Jesus is saying to these people, listen, when we talk about eternal life, we are not talking, let's come back at this another way. When we talk about the end times, we are not talking in the eschatological sense that you and I have been trained by our teachers to think of. We're not talking about here, earth, bound in this space, and heaven up there. No. When you talk about the end times, you're not talking about really the consummation of the age. You're talking about the end of time. You're talking about being able to step out of time and into eternity, and being able to bring eternity back into time. And Jesus is saying to him, you can't come where I'm going, because you're bound by time, you're bound by chronos, you're bound by your watch, you're bound by your calendar, you're bound by this natural order. But let me explain something to you. Me and my people are not bound by that. The seers, the knowers, the lookers, the seers, the ones that understand the realm of the spirit, they too will not be confined by these things. They can come and go as they please. Jesus said you're going to see the heavens open, and this ladder people ferrying backwards and forwards. We're going to see extraordinary things in the spirit realm where people are not bound by these things. But you are bound by those things, and because you're bound by those things, you're bound not to understand me. On the last day of the feast, then, Jesus stood up and he cried out. Remember the feast, this feast of booths. Remember what it's for. It's for the outpouring. It's the feast of the foreign pilgrims, and it's the feast of the outpouring. And Jesus stands up. Do you remember what I told you a couple of weeks ago, that they bring this great water offering in, and they pour this water down on all of the burnt sacrifice, and up goes this huge libation offering. Paul talks about that in Philippians. He says, I'm being poured out like a libation offering. And it's his life. He just sees his life poured out on the sacrifice, which is the real sacrifice as he sees it, which is that which the price of the church has paid. And Jesus stands up and he said, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as the scriptures have said, out of his heart or out of his belly will flow rivers of living water. And Jesus has now really pulled together his teaching that really began in John chapter 4, where he spoke to the woman about this well that was going to, this fountain of living water that was going to well up within him. And now he's saying, if anybody comes to me and comes to this, the absurdity of this grace that we speak about, out of his belly will flow rivers and rivers of living water. Now he said this about the Spirit, whom those who believed in him were to receive. For as yet the Spirit had not been given, because Jesus had not been glorified. When they heard these people, some of the people said, this man is the prophet. Others said, this is the Christ. But others said, is it the Christ? How can he come from Galilee? Has the scripture not said that Christ is going to be the offspring of David? And they chatter and discuss all these things among themselves. But now look here, just at the end. The officers then came to the chief of the priests and the Pharisees and said to them, why did you not bring this man? Why did you not bring him The officers answered, "No one ever spoke like this man." The Pharisees said to them, "Have you been deceived also? Have any of the authorities believed in him?" But the crowd that does not know the law, they're accursed. You see? He's saying, listen, we who know the law do not believe he's God. Those people, those foolish people who don't know our laws and don't know our rules and haven't studied the way we're studied and aren't bound by the things we're bound by, they think he's the Christ. You see, they're the accursed, but surely the Bible tells us that cursed is he who's under the law. And the tragedy is that these people that are supposed to be the leaders, they are the ones that can't see. They are the ones that can't bring these people into freedom, bring these people into wholeness. And then here he comes, watch him. Nicodemus, who had gone to him before and was one of them, said to them, "Does our Lord judge a man without first giving a hearing and learning what he does?" They replied, "Are you from Galilee too? Search and see, no prophet arises from Galilee." You see, you have to understand the reason why there is such enmity between the Jews and Jesus, why they hate him so much, is because Jesus represents the end of their system. The world system is a system that is about control. The world system is a system that is about individualism. The world system is a system in which is about I can validate myself and make myself feel better about me by making you feel worse about you. The world system is a system of those who are in and those who are out, those who have and those who don't have. The world system is not an egalitarian system. The world system is not a system about community. The world system is a system about self and selfishness. And Jesus comes, and his whole ministry, his whole flow, it literally is about the disruption of that. It's about the change of that. It's about creating, to use English language, English political language, truly a big society. The big society in which we take care of one another. And so really the die is cast. The thing is set. Jesus is anathema to these people. He has he's shown himself, he's proved himself quite obviously. We have these great catalogue of healings that he's performed, and the challenge is irresistible. And so now the Jews will have to find a way to deal with him. And as we turn the page to our next story, we come to a story that is hotly disputed for all sorts of different reasons. And we're talking about the story of John chapter 8. There are many scholars that won't even teach this because they don't think it actually is part of the original text. But we'll comment on it because it has some interesting things to say about the nature of Christ. I look forward to that. Look forward to being with you next time. And God bless you. Thank you so much for listening.